Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the second episode of Kraken Pit. I am ImPERium, and yeah, this is an awesome way to have a second episode. If you don't know, or if you haven't really watched before, this show is aimed to bring a bit more information, a bit more insight, a bit of, I suppose, help inform you, the viewers, maybe about something to do with VG, the game itself, or as outside from a corporate point of view of the game. So without further ado, I'm very, very proud to introduce my guest for this episode is RumblySuperset. It's very, very nice to have you on the show, Rumbly.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. So look, for people that don't know much about you, would you mind just kind of introducing yourself and telling the good folks kind of what you do and kind of what your job is?
Primarily, I am a YouTuber. I started, I don't know, about 4 or 5 years ago, just doing whatever game fit my fancy at the time. Maybe it was like some orders, like ordering or Heroes of Ordering Chaos Online, a lot of the game loft stuff that I started on. And I kind of got more into the mobile scene when it
Okay.
came out with Heroes of Ordering Chaos. Uh, and I was always playing League too in the background, but as far as my
Okay.
channel was always mobile.
Cool.
And so I was playing Heroes of War and Chaos. That got me, I grew a little bit from that time, but then Vainglory dropped, and I played it. And actually, when I first started playing, I actually hated the game. I thought it was like really slow because I come from a League of Legends background as well,
Yeah.
and so I was like, oh, this is weird. 3v3, it's not 5v5. It's slower, at
Okay.
least in the beginning.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I moved into Vainglory, and I kind of just skyrocketed from there. I'm currently at 123,000 subscribers, which is
Wow.
pretty staggering to myself because I never would have thought I would have been here. But
Yeah.
thanks to everybody in the VG community. So it's awesome. So yeah, that's what I do. I stream and make videos for Vainglory.
That is absolutely awesome. Yeah, and especially somebody kind of starting out on from a kind of YouTube video point of view, it's amazing to see how somebody like yourself can grow. So look, yeah, just to kind of let you and the viewers know that I have a range of topics and questions that might be similar to what I asked my previous guest Fuji. But obviously, I look forward to hearing your different kind of opinions. So jumping into the first question, I touched on this. Well, I talked quite a bit with Fuji about this. The esports scene at the moment is in Vainglory. At least it's really growing as far as new organizations and stuff like that.
Definitely.
How do you think that's kind of playing out in Vainglory? And do you think it's a really really good thing, or do you still think that one, it's something that heavily needs to be improved on, or is it something that you think is a little bit risky in terms of Vainglory at the moment?
As far as the esports scene, I think all these new orgs that are especially big names like NRG and Fnatic and all those other organizations that are coming in, it's a huge indication that the game is doing something right as far as
True.
esports. Because you have all these other mobile games that are trying to break into that sector, but have failed.
Yeah.
Like for instance, Heroes of War and Cast tried to do it, but they couldn't. They have a lot of mobile games coming up that are trying to break into the esports scene, but the only one to successfully do it so far, as shown, is Vainglory, and it's definitely
Yeah.
saying something. Um, and another thing too is like if these big orgs are seeing this and seeing the potential, that just means that we're just at the beginning, the cusp of where Vainglory just explodes from this point going forward. That's kind of how like League of Legends took place. Is a lot of these people started making organizations around the game, and then they eventually grew, and now this is this huge game, and it's kind of what Vainglory is doing right now with the mobile market.
Yeah, yeah, and like League of Legends, because I remember playing League of Legends back in 2013, and that was only really even starting to take off, and it's been what kind of 4 years since then, and you could say League of Legends still isn't at its peak from an esports point of view.
Mm-hmm. No, definitely.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so that's kind of interesting to hear about, and I love your point of view as far as that it's definitely growing. So kind of just to go into your role, you're currently part of Gangstar's guild and kind of organization.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I know in the past you talked about kind of stepping away from I believe the Apex team that you were involved in.
Right.
because you wanted to focus, as far as now, more heavily on essentially making videos and rather than controlling a team or somewhat of an organization. And I believe you were in Gangstars before that, but what kind of made you go back to Gangstars, and what is your part in the guild organization now?
So originally, when I was first in Gangstars, I was actually the head of the Gangsters Academy,
Right.
and we were kind of doing videos for
Okay.
that, which is tutorial videos.
Okay.
And I stepped away because, with Pont, I don't know, are you familiar with the leadership of Gangstars? Well, Pont is the leader, and after talking to him with quite a bit of times and kind of getting a feel for what he does with the organization, it inspired me to kind of pursue something similar.
Okay.
So I wanted to step away and maybe create my own organization.
Cool.
And I felt like I had the means to do so because I can draw in a lot of traffic, audience.
Yes.
And so I was like, well, I have a lot of friends that are also doing the YouTube, and pretty much the most, like, with us combined, it's encompassing the entire community on YouTube, the
Yeah.
majority of it at least.
Yeah.
And so we had a good thing going. But what happened was we failed to realize the time it takes to really pursue it to the full extent. And a lot of these people who are doing this for organizational purposes, like, they don't really have a YouTube channel. They don't have, streaming that they're doing on the side. Their job is to run that organization.
Yeah.
And so I realized that if I'm trying to do YouTube, I'm trying to do streaming and run this organization, it says I have no time for my family.
Yeah.
And so I had to make a decision, which was to step away. And it kind of went from where I was in Apex, and then I kind of merged with Enix because that alleviated some of the time too, the time constraints.
Yeah.
But eventually, like, the team kind of fell apart, and then there was this opportunity where I was like, okay, well, it looks like I have an opportunity to pursue this and kind of not be sure where it's going to go, or I can put my full effort into my channel again and kind of just work on my own brand going forward.
Yeah.
And that's what I kind of decided to do. I felt like it was better for not only myself, but my family, just because I could decide when I work and what I have to do when it has to be done, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, I have full reign over my schedule.
Yeah, completely understand. That's I really didn't kind of know that. I had an idea, but only from kind of watching your Bro Talk videos, which, on the side note, absolutely love your Bro Talk videos. It adds such a level of realism to and communication between people that watch your videos and yourself. So
yeah,
and I'll kind of come back to you and kind of Vainglory in your videos, but I just wanted to talk about, because I didn't get to talk to Fuji about it because I hadn't dropped yet. But the new update, the 2.2 update, with all of the changes and all the kind of way it evolved with the new updates, what's your, because you tested, I'm sure from your videos you kind of tested a bit, I think, anyway. What's your kind of feelings on the new update, and how do you think it's reacted in the community, and do you think it's enough of a step in the right direction, or do you think it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back, or what's your viewpoint on the new update?
It's kind of, well, I definitely like the content they put out. I always like a new hero because it brings a whole new element to the game.
Definitely.
And then the skins are always a plus because it just gives you a whole new unique look to a hero that you may be maining. They can't always, release the skin for every hero, but when they do release the skin for your hero, it's like awesome.
Totally.
So, like, I actually like Taka. I don't play him a lot, but I actually like the aesthetic appeal of him. And so when I saw the skin, I was actually pretty excited for it. And Vox too. The Vox one I really like a lot.
Definitely.
But as far as, like, balance, I would have to say I have a love-hate relationship when it comes to balance with Vainglory, and that's not just Vainglory, that's any MOBA. It's very hard to maintain balance.
True.
Because you have so many different elements that are involved when releasing an update. When it comes to abilities from one hero to the next, and changing one item can drastically affect one hero. It's a lot of little things like that can have a really negative effect, or positive potentially. But
yeah,
I would say that so far, as for the most part, though, I'm pretty happy with the update. I like the new hero. He's pretty interesting. I'm not a Rome main, but I can definitely see where he would be great for that position, and it's going to be fun because I like eating people and spitting them out. So,
I think Rumjaw, first of all, I think is an absolutely awesome kind of name for a hero, and his kind
Yeah.
of the name of his moves is definitely kind of quite fun, and the play on words with angry and hungry kind of thing is absolutely fantastic. And I'm a little bit I'm a little bit disappointed with him as a hero because I got him when it was first released, and
Hmm.
as much as he has a potential to be really good, I don't think they hit the mark with what they wanted him to be in terms of. I think he's a bit too slow. I think a bit too exposed in his weaknesses. Would you agree or disagree?
Mm, well, I play generally in the higher levels of play. And so when I see a Grumpjaw, I'm usually pretty tilted because they're really good. Because
Okay.
all I see is Grumpjaw just charging me in lane, eating me up, and then pretty much I know I'm dead from there. Um, so I don't know.
Okay.
I'm sure perspectives drastically change based on the skill tiers. I can't really say,
That's true.
but I would have to say that in my particular skill tier, he's definitely a nuisance, meaning he's actually pretty good.
Okay. Okay. That's a fair point. I suppose I've yet to come across an absolutely or even seen a really well skilled Grumpjaw player, but it's early
Hmm.
days, so that's a fair point. So look, hey, with the biggest change that Vainglory announced for 2017 was the kind of upcoming 5v5, which I
Right.
think has it really divided the Vainglory community. I myself, when it was first rumored and talked about, I'm a very kind of against 5v5 because I've seen other MOBAs and 5v5 and I have my own opinions on it. But when I saw the video that Vainglory put out, it actually kind of made me excited because I think if there's one game or one community or one developer that can do it right, it would be Vainglory.
Right.
What's your opinion on it, and do you think it's a good or a bad thing?
I think for the game itself, it's a great thing because it's just going to bring in a whole new audience. Because right now, a lot of people get turned off from Vainglory simply because they're coming from a Dota or League of Legends background, which is 5v5. And so that's like the
True.
staple formula for a MOBA is having that 5v5 mode. So when you come to Vainglory and you're like, what's this 3v3? That's usually casuals and MOBAs. Like, ugh, this game's kind of like really super casual, not really the game for me. And that turns them off.
Okay. Okay.
But when it, but now that 5v5 is coming out, I think a lot of people are going to give it a second chance, seeing that there is a 5v5 mode, and I think it's gonna be great for the game. But as far as the divide, I definitely think there is a divide right now because people want to, they don't like change, at least not drastic change.
That's true.
And Vainglory has always been 3v3, and that
Okay.
throwing in this 5v5 is completely changing the formula. And everybody knows when 5v5 is introduced, 3v3 will no longer be the center for esports. It'll be pushed aside because 5v5 is just more intense. There's more strategy involved. This is a lot more going on, and it's going to be the ideal mode for esports. And I think there's a lot of it too is people don't want to see the 3v3 go away as far as relevance. But unfortunately, it's going to be. I mean, it's going to be pushed off because 5v5 is going to be a better mode overall.
That's
Um,
that's true. Like my kind of slight opinion on it is part outside of the fact that 3v3 made Vainglory different. I think what made 3v3 work on Vainglory is because they were able to incorporate a fantastic level and detail of graphics and touch based system so that when you touch where you want to go on the map, you go there.
yeah,
The detail is very on point. I'm afraid that with the 5v5, especially on smaller devices and a bigger map and more heroes, you press to go somewhere or you want to go somewhere on the map, you press it, but it's not really going to take you there.
hmm,
Are you not afraid that that's going to happen with Vainglory and it's going to basically tilt the game downhill? Or are you confident
yeah.
they'll do it right?
Like you said, I think if anybody can do it right, it's definitely SMC. I can't really say because I have no clue what they're doing as far as level design or just the concept that they're going to be or
Yeah.
approaching as far as how many lanes or whatever it may be. But I think once we see it, I think we're going to be pretty pleased with the product because they've done pretty good so far with the game, and I think that they're not going to be just throwing that quality aside just to put out 5v5. I think they're going to be. That's why it's taking so long, and that's why they haven't really given us a time frame when it's going to release because they want to make sure it's just right.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I think it's going to be great.
Yeah, you know what? That's the thing. When I saw the video, I actually became confident that they could do it right because, yeah, just the way they made the video, it just instilled so much confidence in me as a player and somebody that's passionate about the game. So look,
Right.
that's cool about the 2.2 updates, and it's so cool to hear your opinion on what's coming along. So yeah, kind of getting back to yourself and you making YouTube, just because I have a wife and she's kind of become more supportive with my involvement in Vainglory over the past couple of weeks and months as I've become more involved in the likes of this. How hard or and exciting has it been for you to make the videos your full-time job and to kind of evolve yourself as a video maker and a VG player with your wife, with your family in the background? How hard has it been for you?
It was definitely very, very difficult in the beginning to convince people that this can be a potential career
Okay.
because it's new. It's very, very new. The world of YouTube is not widely known as an area to base your entire career on, and it's a gamble almost at this
It
point.
is.
If you're going to skyrocket or if you're just not going to grow at all. But when I saw the potential of my channel and of the game, I was like, I'm going to take that leap of faith. And the reason why it was hard was I come from an Asian background.
Okay.
My mom is Asian,
Yeah.
and I was an engineering student.
Okay.
And then I made a decision to drop out at the last year to pursue YouTube. And my mom did not really appreciate that decision. And so it was very, very difficult to get my parents on board. But eventually they saw the brighter side of where I was going, and they're very supportive now, especially my wife too. My wife was always supportive. She just said, as long as I can take care of the family, I can do whatever I want. And, you know, I told her, like, if this doesn't work out in the first year, I'm stopping and I will pursue, you know, I'll go back to engineering and finish it.
That is,
Which, to be honest, if anybody is in college, I would recommend not dropping out just because it's always great to have a backup. That's one thing I do regret. But yeah, so stay in school, guys. Yeah.
I like the way you went back on that. That's a nice little tip for our younger viewers.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's a lot of young people that play Vainglory and stuff like that. So, like, what do you think makes you different or kind of? I wouldn't say better because I know you don't come across as that kind of guy. But what do you think makes you different as a YouTube content creator, and especially specifically within Vainglory content creations?
I think the one thing, like I said, I don't want to call myself better in any way,
Yeah.
but I think the one thing that appeals to people is just my laugh and my humor, I guess.
True.
Well, primarily the laugh. I get so many comments about that. Like, I just laugh. I don't think anything of it, but people started talking about it on my channel and saying like my laugh was contagious, even though my wife called me a nerd so many times for my laugh. But you know, I guess it just really draws people in. And then not just that, but the fact that I do try to involve myself with the community as far as my channel. And also I think it's just I like to try to be genuine and not fake anything. Because a lot of times you can kind of tell when people are like faking their enjoyment of a game or whatever it may be, or like they're just going through the works to get those views. And like I was very adamant about making sure that if I was going to pursue YouTube, it was on something that I'm like thoroughly passionate about.
Yeah.
And that's why I chose Vainglory. Yeah, and so I think that's the big appeal.
Yeah, and talking about kind of being genuine, one thing, because I play Vainglory, I play it a lot, and me as a player, I'm passionate and I want to win, and of course I've kind of changed my play style and stuff like that and how I react to a win or a loss. But you seem real chill in your games and when you record and the videos that you're so chill and you tend to laugh at something that possibly goes wrong. And obviously you're a really good player and you play with really good players, but surely you must rage in the game. Surely you must shout or curse on the game. Come on, you must.
There are times where I get pretty tilted. Recently there was actually a stream. There is I was actually having a really bad day, and so I was like, oh, well, maybe if I play some Vainglory, I'll kind of lighten the mood for today, and I'll be good, And so I went to stream Vainglory. I lost every match on my stream. I think I won one at the very end, somewhere around there, but there was like a good 7 or 8 matches where either my teammates would AFK or just really bad plays that I was just like, I don't know why we're doing this type of thing. And yeah, I got pretty tilted, and I don't really like to condone the behavior of screaming at people and making them feel bad about themselves. So I had to pull myself away from the stream and just tell them, hey guys, I'm pretty heated. Like, we don't even need to turn on the heater right now because it is freaking 80 degrees in my house because of my body heat. Like, I'm gonna step away from the stream just because I know I'm not in the condition right now to keep streaming. So I pull myself away.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I do tilt.
Okay. No, see, because that's the thing. I've never, because I'm the kind of guy that I prefer to kind of watch, let's say, a video in my leisure, or if I'm in bed kind of thing. So watching streams is kind of less convenient for me. So I've never seen you stream. So I've only seen your kind of YouTube videos. But
right.
have you ever thought that maybe you could put a bit of a more aggressive, so to speak, a video on YouTube to maybe give a better sense of realism to the game?
There have actually been a few videos, but I did just kind of spoke my mind a little bit. Like, I just, it's very questionable, some plays that I see. And, the reason why usually I don't really try to say any of that stuff, because I know I do it myself. Like, sometimes I get so hungry that I chase into the turret knowing I'm going to die. And I swear my teammates are probably like, slamming their head against the table, wondering why I just did that. But that's the reason why I kind of like don't really rage, because I stop myself. I realize that, why are they doing that? And then I realize, like, well, I do that too, so never mind.
Yeah, that's true. That's totally true. And I've watched your videos, and I've kind of gone, oh, why are you diving into that, Rumbly? Oh, come on.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so you're obviously mainly known for Vainglory and all that jazz. Mm-hmm. And I've seen you kind of play and record other MOBA games and other games in themselves, and you've kind of I think you've had a bit of uncertainty about kind of, let's say, what to record and what to put out. But what kind of reaction do you get to other MOBA videos and you playing other MOBAs? Do you get a kind of a sense of a reaction of betrayal, or oh, you're going against Vainglory, why are you promoting that game, or like, that's kind of a terrible game? What kind of reaction do you get?
Well, if I were to put that, like, a different MOBA on, like, with my Vainglory channel, so for instance, like League of Legends, I did for a little bit.
Yeah.
There definitely is some, negativity for that, just because people like you go to a channel to view, a certain type of gameplay, and then they don't like seeing other content because it might make it hard for them to filter. Like, okay, where's the Vainglory stuff? That kind of thing. Or just people don't like change. Like I said, they kind of fall back onto that. People don't like change of seeing a channel they've watched for 2 years now for Vainglory all of a sudden uploading, League of Legends, or, Payday 2, and just some random games that they've never seen me play. It's just, it's people get a little bit negative about that. But in the long run, though, it's like, I understand that, but at the same time, I have to consider that Vainglory may or may not be, the thing that's going to keep my channel going indefinitely. And I have to plan accordingly, because it's not about me. It's about, supporting the family.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I know you've kind of talked about that in other Bro Talk videos, and you've kind of touched on that. And like, me as a person, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, I've seen like a video from you about another game, and I'm not gonna lie, I've kind of thought, oh, it's not Vainglory. I'm kind of not interested
Right.
in that. That's nothing against you. It's just because, yeah, I'm
How
a,
dare you?
yeah. I'm like, what, man? Why do I get this notification, but it's not Vainglory? God. But no, it's like, but I'm never gonna like turn around and like feel betrayed because you're doing another game, because I totally understand that you have to broaden your viewership horizons, and the only way you're gonna do that is by putting out new games. But like you said, you don't really like play or put out things you are kind of passionate about. Have you
Mhm.
found it hard to become really passionate about another game?
I have. After experiencing Vainglory and the feeling I get for the game, it's very hard to match that. I found games that I do enjoy, but a lot of those have been like single player type of games. So those games that passion you have is usually followed with the hype of the game.
Yeah.
And as the game has been out for a while, that hype dies down, and so does your interest in that game. Whereas multiplayer games are great for maintaining that, that interest, but getting that same level of passion for a game, it's very difficult for me. I can't really explain why. I think just Vainglory is such a great game. Now that my standards have been set so high, it's hard to match that with any other game right now.
Totally agree. Totally agree. I've definitely got the same. Like before I played Vainglory, I played like Clash of Clans myself, and I played that for
Right.
quite a while. But that interest died down, and I don't know, it was about a 4 or 5 month kind of gap, and yeah, I discovered Vainglory, and it was like from there, it was like I was hooked. I was That's it. This is like a new drug for me. Happy days. This is all I
Right.
need, kind of thing. So yeah, that was kind of interesting to hear about. So to kind of touch back again on you as a Vainglory player, how close do you think you were slash possibly are to being, I don't know, like a pro player? Did you ever have that opportunity or chance? Because I know you're a damn good player, but how close were you, and were you given that chance?
I think there was a point at which when the game was still a little bit fairly new that I was playing a lot, like pretty heavily.
Okay.
And I think I was like refined to the point where I can compete against those pro players, but just not as consistently.
Okay.
Uh, but the level of play, I can reach it. Just like I said, I couldn't do it every single time like they can. I think the downside, that the reason why I can't really ever reach that level is because I have, like yourself, a family. I have limited time. I can't really spend 8 hours training every day, because then I have to do videos as well and pay the bills, and spend time with the family. So that's like the biggest drawback. A lot of the people who are pro players, for the most part, there might be an exception of a few, are of a younger demographic. And so they have a lot more time on their hands as far as being able to practice like that, because they don't have kids or a wife. Um,
Yeah, that's true, and something I touched on, that Fuji said a really similar thing, because me as a player, like I would still love the opportunity to compete, whether at
yeah.
VGL or that kind of thing, and I'd like to think that, with all due respect, age will never be an issue, but unfortunately, I think outside of responsibilities, I kind of think it is, but that's just something whatever. But yeah, because I know you're a real good Vainglory player, um, which is why I watch your videos. And I was just curious to see how close you think you would have been to become a pro player on the Vainglory scene.
There
Uh,
was one situation where we did play competitively for like one season, where we actually, it was against Liberation X, that season that they actually won the tournament.
okay.
They won the world. It was the worlds or whatever it was.
Yeah.
I don't think it was world. Whatever tournament it was. But anyway, so we actually were that one game from the live invitationals, but we
Really?
lost. We lost to Liberation X, which they went on to
Jesus.
win the entire tournament. So that was the closest we got.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, ever since then, I haven't really kept my skill completely refined. So like, just been lapses where I might not be as good as I once was, or sometimes I come back up, but then I goes back down. I don't know. Like right now, I'm kind of in a slump where I'm trying to get better again. It's still a struggle right now. The grind is real.
Well, like I've seen you do kind of a couple more. I think the last two videos you've put out have been you doing support, and I main captain. And so it's definitely a lot funnier for me to look at you doing captain videos and to kind of analyze and go, he did that wrong. But
Yeah.
but then again, I was kind of impressed with you doing captain role. But what do you consider your strongest position?
Definitely lane. It's always been lane for me.
Okay.
Just because I don't know. Well, one, I enjoy a lot of the heroes that go into lane, and two, I just like the concept of having a constant flow of farm. It's
Yeah.
a little bit more consistent for me and a little less of a struggle to kind of maintain my farm. Because in jungle, there's a lot of aggression when it comes to stealing farm, pushing people out for that objective in the center now. There's a lot of that involved. Whereas laners kind of sit in lane, they get their farm, and they rotate when they need to rotate.
Yeah.
And that's that.
Okay.
It's a little bit more straightforward. And the reason why I'm so bad with Rome is that I've never been good at multitasking. I've never been good at multitasking. My wife, I'll be trying to like maybe take out the trash, and my wife will be trying to talk to me while I'm doing that, and then I'll take out the trash. I'll come back and be like, "What did you say?"
Oh.
I wasn't listening. Sorry, I was just so one track mind. Like
Yeah.
I have to do one thing, then the next, and that's why I'm so bad at Rome. I cannot do multiple things at once, so I cannot activate my Crucible while also trying to play my characters. It does not work.
Okay,
So.
that's interesting. Like, but again, I don't think you've been too bad in the captain role and kind of getting off your items. But I kind of get as far as from a comfort point of view. But yeah. So look, before the interview over the last kind of day and a bit, I kind of put the call out for anybody to ask any questions about to ask you about Vainglory, and I got a couple of interesting ones. This one is from SF Darkstyle, and he asks how to make progress when you are vainglorious. For example, people reach VG and then they just play to stay there.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you? And this is something I had talked to Fuji about as far as kind of the skill tiers. But if you're a vainglorious player, how do you kind of improve? If that makes sense.
I'm not really the person to really be very analytical when it comes to finding out where you can improve. I'm not really in that kind of coach mindset. But if I were to say anything, I would have to say that the biggest thing is to realize that it's not really about what skill tier you are. It's about just improving in general. So you shouldn't just stop ranking. Just because you hit VG, that doesn't mean it's the end of the game. Like you should constantly try to improve. And to be honest, like I'm kind of in that mindset this season where I'm not casualing anymore. If I casual, it's only for the purposes of doing some super off meta stuff that I'm just having fun with.
Yeah.
And so I'm fully going into rank no matter what I do now. Okay. And what that does is it forces me into doing roles that I don't normally do, like roam, or heroes I don't normally play, and that refines me as a player because I understand those characters more. So when I go against those characters, I start to understand what they're going to be doing as far as build, as far as play style, because I know how to play those characters. Okay. And I think that's the biggest thing is just improving your overall pool of knowledge at that point, because you have the mechanics down as a Vainglorious players, but maybe you don't have the refinement and the knowledge base of the game. So knowing draft, knowing rotations, knowing how the most effective form of farming, that kind of stuff. Yeah. I think that's when you get to the next step, is getting more analytical at Vainglorious.
Yeah, I definitely agree because, like, as I said, I touched on Fuji about the kind of the ranking system and people's attitudes of reaching a certain skill tier. And I totally agree as far as a skill tier doesn't mean everything, and you should always improve as a player, and I'm the same mindset, but I use a skill tier as simply a representation, but it's not going to
Right.
be, as I said, I reach Vainglorious and I'm going to stop trying to improve. That's totally not going to be the case with me. But I can understand if like somebody like me who's trying to reach Vainglorious and I'm trying to, let's say, solo queue, and I come across these players that are already Vainglorious and let's say they're midway bronze, but they don't really care if they win or lose because they're already at Vainglorious, and they kind of cause me to lose, if that makes sense. I'm not going to say cause me, but they are a negative effect of the game, whether they troll for a little bit or whether they just simply don't try as hard. And
Right.
yeah, I think that's where that question was kind of coming across from. So yeah, I have this other question from Amnesia Moon, which on a side note, this person is on your Discord
Yeah.
server from being a patron,
Yeah.
being a patron donator, which I did myself because
That's awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that.
no problem. It's the least I can do, and it's something that I happily decided to do. Yeah. So this person asks, when it comes to playing Vainglory, and I think you're gonna say a little bit similar to the other answer, but what makes a good player? What makes a good Vainglory player, in your opinion?
Patience. I think that's the biggest thing, patience. Because patience
Okay.
encompasses a lot of things in Vainglory. So it's not just, for instance, when it comes to playing your hero, having patience can be the difference between like me going in and killing myself with the turrets or staying alive and maintaining my farm and getting that kill when it's presented to me instead of me going for it. So that kind of patience is really important. And also patience with your teammates. They're gonna make mistakes. They're human, and being able to keep a cool head, and not be heated and start ruining your own playstyle because you're so mad. Having that
Oh
patience is really
yes.
going to refine you as a player and allow you to kind of work around mistakes instead of build more into a mistake. Because the more you get heated, the more you compound into that same mistake, and people just start to not try, or people just get so flustered that they're not focusing anymore. So having that patience really allows you to analyze the situation and see what you can do from there to improve it instead of just going the opposite and ruining it even further.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Like, because I found when I was kind of not jumping through it, but going up in the kind of skill tiers and improving myself as a player, I found myself becoming a bit. I wouldn't really say toxic, but I suppose quite rage pingy at. Yeah, I did. I had that. I had that period in my Vainglory gameplay where I suppose it became quite egotistical about my own ability and kind of and I would, let's say, and I'm not gonna lie, I would add somebody after a loss and I'd go and I'd send a message saying, yeah, don't play Vainglory, dude, just quit, kind of thing. Yeah, and I was that asshole player for a little bit. Um, but I kind of realized, I took a step back and I kind of realized, look, dude, you're getting ahead of yourself. God, like, take a step back here. Realize that, one, if you're passionate about the game, you want people to improve, and the only way you're gonna get people to improve is, yeah, okay, you can add somebody after a loss and you can kind of go, you can message them, but don't message them with just a blunt out, you're an idiot Vainglory player, just
Yeah.
quit. Like, message them going, look, dude, sorry about the loss. Maybe I didn't play as good, but maybe I suggest you try this or this build or this item on a hero, or try not to overextend, and it might, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And kind of since then, I've found myself becoming. I wouldn't say it's the core reason why I became a better Vainglory player, but it definitely contributed to me improving because I took a step back and I went, okay, if I improve other people, one, I'm getting I'm having a better attitude about the game because I'm there's this feeling of kind of selflessness because you're kind of giving a little bit of friendly advice. Somebody's there kind of going, oh yeah, I possibly changed their game, and in turn you enjoy the game more you're open to improving, and it was definitely a kind of eye opener that helped improve my game, you know.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
I would definitely say that there's a lot more criticism than there is constructive criticism. And that's really where it really matters, because there's a lot of people who go on Twitter and tweet at Vainglory or whatever and says, "Hey, fix your matchmaking, it's horrible," and they
oh,
have a
I hate
picture
those
of them,
people.
trash talking somebody.
Yeah,
And in reality, the first step you can take is help improve that player that did do bad, like you were saying.
yeah,
Give them constructive criticism without any kind of negative connotations. Like it's you want to improve the community, then you need to do the first step and do it yourself.
exactly.
Uh, and then if it continues to go from there, then that's obviously beyond your means, but at least you put in your fair share.
Yeah, yeah, totally agree, and that's something that that I realized myself. So look, a couple of kind of last couple of questions. It's pretty kind of straightforward. Um, if you were to kind of tomorrow implement something new or better into the Vainglory game, let's say off limits or outside of kind of technical issues upon implementing, what would you implement or put into the game tomorrow?
Mm, it's a tough one. I would definitely say that the biggest thing I have is the variety of items. So I feel like they're missing a few core items. Like there's some items in like League of Legends where, for instance, if you see a person who's like really high attack speed or does really heavy damage, a lot of times you can get an item that reflects a percentage of that damage back, kind of similar to like Catherine's bubble. Uh,
Okay,
there was an item like that in League of Legends. So this things of that same type of nature where I feel like there's a little bit of a gap of counterplay when it comes to items.
okay,
Uh, so I would definitely implement some new items, I think, to kind of fill that gap. I can't really say what it would be because I would really have to do some brainstorming, but
of course.
I would definitely say there is some room for improvement when it comes to item.
I kind of wasn't really expecting that answer. That's actually kind of surprised me a little bit with the answer, but because I do tend to agree on that. The one kind of issue that I'd have to that, and I forgot to ask kind of Fuji about it, but like surely if you were to introduce a lot more items, let's say 3 or 4 more items, to the fold, whether it's for defense, offense, utility, surely they would have to add another item slot, because that's one thing that I think is a little bit frustrating as a Vainglory player, is that I get that you want to have more items, but if you have more items, it becomes really hard to
Mhm.
choose what to build, because you only have these limited amount of item slots, and it becomes less about kind of ability and more about what you know about items, if that makes sense. Or
Yeah, that's kind of true too. Because when it comes to, I'm going to keep referencing League of Legends just because it's what
no,
I
that's
played
okay.
originally. But
Yeah.
what they did in League of Legends is they moved the vision item into an automatic purchase. Everybody has it, and you have X amount, and it has a cooldown. It's no longer an item that fills in an item slot. It's something different entirely.
I get you.
Uh, so by doing that in Vainglory, I think that would be basically like something similar to what you were recommending, was adding another item slot. So
Yeah.
instead of having a slot required for like vision,
Yeah.
vision is always on you. You just have a cooldown on it, and it's
Okay.
not an item. That alleviates a spot to put in another offensive or defensive item in its place.
Hmm.
Uh, but
Yeah.
yeah, that's kind of what I would think would be great, because me and Nox, like, there's always, I don't know if you know who Nox Fox is, but
I am subscribed. I watch his videos, and
oh,
I've missed him putting out videos. I know who Knox
okay.
Fox is. Love him.
Yeah, so me and him, like, on a normal basis, we'll sit down and say, like, dude, like, you just need to do this for this game. Need to add this, add that. And a lot of times what comes up is, like the whole vision game. Like, it's so dependent on it that it should just become, a passive item that everybody has it. It's just it has cooldowns. And that would really open up the play style when it comes to items, having the extra slot. It really would.
Yeah, and I also kind of think it would take a small bit of pressure off the support,
Definitely, yeah.
to kind of like need vision kind of thing.
Right.
But and kind of onto his next question, what position do you think is the hardest in Vainglory?
I think the general consensus would be Rome, because, like you said, there's a lot of pressure on the Rome to do everything right because he has the most impact on the game as far as winning or losing. If you don't place vision, that could cost the game. If you don't do that one crucible, that can cost the game. And so there's a lot of pressure on the Rome, and he gets a lot of flack too from players. Usually, if someone does something wrong, the first person to blame is the Rome, or the captain, if you will.
Yeah.
And that's a big turnoff for players. They don't want to be in that position to be trash talked to. And so especially with that pressure to do good, it really puts them on the spot, and a lot of times that causes them to mess up because they're frantically trying to perform at a level that they haven't quite reached yet. Because you'll never reach the perfection level for captain. No one will ever say you're the perfect captain because it's impossible. You're always going to make mistakes in their eyes. But yeah, so I definitely say it's captain for sure.
Thanks for saying that, and I do agree because when I was kind of improving in the game, I actually had a point when I wanted to kind of step away from Vainglory, or at least from a captain position, because I was really struggling to kind of get a hold of being a support, and I was really disliking it, and I don't know, I think I took a break for a week or two, or I focused more on the heroes that I was okay with, and then it was around the time before Lance was released, or around that time, and then after that I luckily got a kind of hold of the support position, and from there I improved on all that jazz, so on and so forth. So look, I'm absolutely, it's been a pleasure to speak to you, get your opinion on some questions and to some areas of Vainglory. It's been really, really cool to talk to you. If you would love to let the people know how they can find you, where they can support you, where they can find you, on what kind of media platforms.
You can obviously find me on YouTube. That's usually like the best place to find me because I'm constantly uploading videos there, and I try my best to respond to comments there too. But you can also find me on Twitter at RumblySuperset. I'm fairly active there, and then also I do have streams on Mobcrush and on YouTube from time to time. So if you want to catch one of my streams, you can also catch me there as well. I think Mobcrush, I currently at about 17,000 followers there, so it's definitely growing as a platform, and I'll definitely be streaming there from this point going forward for a while, so you can catch me there as well. So.
Okay. Look, that is so absolutely amazing. As I said, I'll keep on kind of going wow to have the opportunity to speak to you, and as I said, as a person and as somebody that wants to grow the Vainglory community and game, and I think you're one of those guys that is really positive for Vainglory, and in a hypothetical world, if you were to go away, I think it would be a bit of a loss, a big loss for the community and people that play the game. Obviously there's a lot out there, and everybody kind of plays their part, and as I've gotten more involved I've seen that, but I'm a little bit biased to say that you're one of the bigger and better ones out there. So look, I'll stop fangirling, as they say, and kind of end the interview with just a big thank you to yourself, and for giving me the opportunity to speak to you, and to everybody that does watch it. Thank you very much for tuning in and listening to the podcast and taking your time, not the podcast, the show, and taking time out to listen to myself and Rumbly have a bit of chat, and I'll speak to you next time.